welcome back to my 12 days of travel Christmas. There's a new video every 2 days with my travel tales, adventures, embarrassing, scary, sometimes funny stories around the globe. So welcome back, subscribe, give me a thumbs up if you like it, and let's move on because I have a tale of two countries, namely Costa Rica and USA, and it involves a lot of tears and shattered glass. So let's get going, right? I was in Costa Rica on a blogger trip to explore the country, and at the end of the trip I was in Manuel Antonio, which is a beach area in the very south, and I had to go back up north to the capital to catch my flight to Arizona. The thing is though that I guess I scheduled the flight a little bit too early or something, because the vans just wouldn't leave early enough for me to have like a lot of leeway to not freak out that I might potentially miss my flight. So that was nice. And the roads in Costa Rica aren't really that great, especially if you want to go by van back to the capital. There's so many bumps and so much mud and dirt road. It's really tricky. You never can calculate the driving time accurately, which just added to my overall anxiety, and I had a lot of work to catch up on. So I was in the van, which was constantly bumping up and down, and I was trying to work on my little laptop. It wasn't little, I just say that, it was massive, and that was super challenging. And the woman next to me, she hated it. She hated me taking up any space, so she constantly like pushed me, and I was already cramped in the side, like working like super slim, but she was just like spreading out. And then there was my camera bag by my feet, and she hated that as well, so she constantly kicked my camera equipment, which is worth quite a lot. And I kept telling her, just don't do that, this is expensive, this is rude, can you not, like, it's not bothering you, is it? And nobody had space, like it was tiny, and she wouldn't stop, so I just pushed it underneath my seat behind my legs so she wouldn't get to it, because she still tried to kick it. What's wrong with people? I don't know. So by the time we landed at the airport, I was the only one who had to get out, and the driver jumped out because he couldn't park there, and he just like pulled out my backpack, dumped it onto the pavement, and I was just about to tell him that I just wanted to grab my day pack and put it on the pavement and then get my camera equipment, when he shut the door and drove off while I was standing there with my laptop in my hands, but my camera in the car, and the camera was going away from me. So I freaked out. I tried to wave at the car, and while I was doing that, you probably guessed it, I let go of my laptop, which I had been hugging, and it came crashing down onto the pavement, and that wasn't good. So I was petrified. I stood there watching my camera disappear, while also realizing that my computer was probably a goner. I carefully, while shaking, opened it. It still made some sounds of the songs I had been playing off before I shut it, so it must be kind of technically still working, but the screen was entirely blasted. It was cracked all over. There were weird colors, and it just didn't show anything. It didn't show any sign. Whatever keys I pressed, nothing worked. So I shut it down, tried to remain calm, which was hard, and I approached the nearest person and asked them if I could maybe use their phone to call this number of the taxi, no, of the tour company I had been working with, so they could call the taxi, because I don't know how to get hold of them, but they booked it, so they have the number. But I didn't have a SIM card, and I didn't have internet, and I couldn't connect to the Wi-Fi for some reason at the airport. So I just needed someone with a phone to call the number, and everyone literally turned their backs to me. They just watched me approach and me being desperate and crying, and they were like, oh god, no. And they just actually turned around. Security people I approached, like airport personnel, they all literally turned around. Some of them I had to chase, and then they pretended as if they didn't understand English. And then I tried Spanish, and then they were pretending as if my Spanish was that abysmal. My Spanish is bad, but I still can ask people for a telephone to call someone, and I'm obviously desperate. No, nobody cared. After a while, and me constantly harassing this one security guy, he just finally relented, and he called the number. The driver actually came back after an hour, like 40 minutes until the flight was supposed to leave, like 50 minutes until the gate closed. Oh, by that time I had already checked in just to be sure that I wouldn't miss it, and he came, and he still had the bag, and he gave it to me, and I just flung into his arms, like hugged him. I was crying, and he was like terribly uncomfortable. He was like, oh God, get off me, like you made me drive here, just now you're doing this. Like, he hated every minute of it, and he just drove off, and I raced back to my flight. But the thing is, I still had the laptop, which was broken, and I needed it. Thankfully I had the camera, because in Arizona I had the gig to go to the Grand Canyon, working with a company to, you know, promote tours around there. And so the camera I had, and I could do the gig, but I couldn't work on any blog posts to put up to, you know, provide what we agreed on. And the laptop was also not cheap. Laptops are never cheap, are they? Oh God. Luckily also I was staying at the couch surfing place, and the lady who picked me up from the train station, she was super understanding. She had so many things planned for us that I would have loved to see in Phoenix, but well, I couldn't. My priority was the laptop. So she googled a bunch of places, and then found that one that was actually open and that actually delivered pretty fast. So we walked all the way there, me with my heavy luggage, and while we were walking, some people started peeing on the sidewalk, just like right next to us in the middle of the day. And I asked her, is that a normal behavior? And she said no. So I guess it's just, again, why do people do that? Why do monkeys always do that when I pass by? That's also a thing. I don't know. Moving on. So we found this guy who lived in some kind of little house in some outside suburb unit next to some abandoned lots, and his entire flat looked like he just moved in. Everything was like boxes and things and gadgets. He like lived in his office, but he googled it and he found a screen that would work. It would just mean that my warranty would no longer work because someone else had tampered with it. But I was like, whatever, it wasn't even that expensive. And I told him I need a computer after I come back from Grand Canyon. He said he would do it. And so I did my little Grand Canyon stint, and it was absolutely amazing. I saw a blue sunset, and it was December, so there weren't many people around, and especially during sunset, people just left, which is also fair because the last bus left like just shortly after sunset, and I nearly missed it, but I didn't. When I came back, the laptop was working again. I was so happy. It was amazing. The screen was new, couldn't tell the difference. All the data was still on it. There was no other damage. But when I went back home after the entire trip, and I had someone look at it again, turns out that apparently some of the more expensive parts had been replaced by cheaper parts of the hardware. So I guess it cost me much more than I thought. It wasn't that cheap after all. So, but it worked, and I guess that's the most important part. And stuff happens and gets broken, which is why I always should have travel insurance. I have travel insurance, and I feel like everybody should too. I can drop a link below if you want to have travel insurance. It secures medicine, treatment, lost stuff, broken, damage, whatever, all of it. I just drop it down below. And also I have a book with more travel tales. There's so many things that went wrong on my trip to New Zealand and Australia alone that I wrote an entire book about it, and you can download it on Kindle and like read it over Christmas if you want. I don't know. But in the next 2 days, there's another video with more stories. If you want to see my face and my stories around again, yay! Again, subscribe, give me a thumbs up so I know you like it, or a thumbs down will let me know what you didn't like so I can improve, because I listen, I read the comments, and I hope you're having an amazing Christmas time, or Hanukkah, or whatever you celebrate. Just have amazing holidays, and see you around 2 days. Alright, deal? Bye!